So I was thinking today, I was playing around with Midjourney, which is one of my great time sinks. It can get pretty bad. I can go down a very specific rabbit hole with Midjourney for hours. And I was making this fake samurai movie. I was fantasy casting it. I'll be showing images of this. It's called Seven Demons. It's still in a sort of vague stage where I'm just like, hey, this would be a cool cast of different, badass actors to be in a samurai movie. And it was a pretty diverse cast. There's some Japanese actors, some, European and American actors, black, white, Asian, all men. I was trying, honestly, I was going to put like Michelle Yeoh and some other female actors in there, but Midjourney is just doing a terrible job getting them the way I want, making them too young or too modern looking. So I just went with what worked, honestly. But anyways, so I was making this movie, this fake pretend movie, and I think these turned out pretty well. Some people on social media, when I posted these, were Googling the movie, trying to find a trailer for the movie because it looks badass, and it does. It looks badass. I would watch this movie, and I don't even know what it's about, although I have some vague ideas about it being like kind of a, I don't know, a time, like Highlander style, like time travel, samurai, across space and time, fantasy, martial arts movie. Or it could be something else completely. I don't know. Seven Demons. It's a cool name, too. So anyways, I was thinking like, all right, well, how do I reconcile this with what I've talked about with diversity in the past, right? Like, oh, well, here we have this like multiracial cast of like samurai kung fu martial artist types in like a feudal Japanese setting. Like, how does that work? And that's when I started thinking about, okay, time travel, like they're these like maybe these like immortal warriors throughout, traveling through time, fighting some great evil. I don't know. It's all very vague still. I just started working on this morning. So, but I thought, okay, well, if you just say whatever, this is a fantasy, and I can cast it however I want. It's fantasy casting. Keanu Reeves, right there with Steven Yeun and Ken Watanabe and all these, these great actors. They would be awesome together. Mads Mikkelsen, like awesome cast, totally diverse. Doesn't make sense for feudal Japan. Who cares? So how do I reconcile that when I talk a lot about how I want fantasies and historical fiction to make sense? And then I thought, well, like it just depends. Like The Great on Hulu about Catherine the Great and the Emperor Peter in Russia. That show has just it's thrown realism out the window. It gleefully throws. It doesn't follow the true story, except for just very vaguely, and it says it up front in the title card at the beginning. This is just sort of based loosely on historical events, and they just cast however. It's a multicultural casting, but it's a comedy that just doesn't care about realism, so it works in this context. Whereas when you're trying to make something really realistic, like I'm assuming the new MGM production of The Winter King about the Arthurian legend, that's based in historical fiction. Even though that's a legend, it is rooted in Bernard Cornwell's historical fiction. You want to make that realistic, and so you don't make Merlin black. You make this Seven Demons movie, and it's just whatever. You just do whatever because it's just throwing realism out the window, okay? And then this got me thinking, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling. Some people have complained that I just ramble too much and that it's hard to listen to, and I don't know what to tell you. This is how I do my videos. There are lots of other channels out there that don't ramble like me. I just talk off the cuff. Anyways, not everything has to be for everybody. And I think so much of the stupidity and outrage that we see on YouTube, in journalism, on social media, everywhere we look, except for generally not so much in real life, but everywhere we look online, there's so much outrage and stupidity. You see it on the right and the left. I get pop-up notifications for YouTubers who are, oh, look at woke Disney's blah, 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 and then look at this woke trailer for the Marvels and da-da-da. Okay, well, all right, the Marvels, it's like a chick flick movie, right? It's a chick flick superhero movie. It's not for everybody. Does it have to be for everybody? Does it look like a movie I'm going to love? No, it does not. Does it have to be a movie I'm going to love? No, it does not. Different things can be for different people, right? There's a lot of outrage over The Little Mermaid or Snow White or all these different like Disney live action remakes. Are those made for everybody? No, they're not. I would not call myself a target audience for The Little Mermaid. I would say that it's probably, geared at kids and families. And those little 7-year-old girls who go to The Little Mermaid aren't going to care that she doesn't look like Ariel from the cartoon. Mostly, I just think these live action remakes are kind of bad and they need better music and they need better, they just need to be better adaptations. But I'm not really the target audience and I don't have to be the target audience. I talked about this before when I talked about how, there is this push to make everything for everybody in a way, right? And it starts to make everything sort of feel the same. So when you make, we're going to make a Lord of the Rings adaptation, The Rings of Power, whatever, we're going to try to make it for everybody. So we're going to have, a checklist of different, we got to have to make sure we have got a black hobbit and a white hobbit, and we got to make sure we got an Asian hobbit and a black elf and a white elf and an Asian, and you go down the list because apparently that appeals to everybody. But no, Lord of the Rings doesn't have to be for everybody. And I'm not even talking about like different racial groups. Lord of the Rings has appealed to different racial groups and people from, dozens of different countries all over the world for decades, regardless of whether there are black people or brown people in that specific story. It doesn't have to be for everybody, though. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to make D&D for everybody. You don't have, there are many different role-playing games. You don't have to make every video game for everybody. We seem to get so outraged because this or that thing doesn't appeal to us. Like people got really mad when Kingdom Come Deliverance or The Witcher 3 came out because they weren't racially diverse. But guess what? These are stories that are being told about a specific time and place. One is an actual time and place in the case of Kingdom Come Deliverance, which is a historical fiction RPG, and one is an allegorical land. The continent is allegorical for Eastern Europe, essentially, European. But these are specific places and times, and this is how they are presented. And it's not like you can't enjoy them if you're not white any more than I can't enjoy something where people are black or Asian or whatever. And even though I am white, these things can appeal to a wide audience, but they don't have to be made for every audience, is what I guess I'm getting at. And we don't always have to be angry about that. We don't have to be angry that there aren't black people in Kingdom Come Deliverance, and we don't have to be angry that The Little Mermaid is black. We don't have to be outraged about these things because we are not always the target audience for everything. And yet somehow we've gotten to this point where it's like we have to comment angrily outraged about every single movie, game, TV show, blah, 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 blah. Partly this is because the people that are making these things are trying to go so hard in one direction or another that it feels inauthentic and politically driven. And nobody likes, I would say 95% of people in the world, maybe higher, don't really like agenda-driven anything in their entertainment. We get enough of that, from politicians and all that. So I just think, we can look at some of this stuff like, okay, there's been all this controversy around two things that there's been lots of controversy around. That Sound of Freedom movie, which is about child trafficking. There's all this divisiveness around this movie, right? And a lot of people who support the movie are like, well, I don't understand why these liberals are so mad about it. It just proves that they're all pedophiles. Well, that's stupid. Liberals are obviously upset about this movie. Not really upset about it, but they're suspicious of it because of the things that the story, the man that the story is based on, and the main star in the movie, Jim Caviezel. They have said somewhat inflammatory things. Caviezel has jumped on the QAnon train and all that, and there's been a lot of like Q-based and other conspiracy theories thrown around about child trafficking and like celebrities drinking the blood of children. Like obviously, when you make a movie about that, and the people involved with it have spouted conspiracy theories, there's going to be some shade cast on that. It might still be a great movie. I haven't seen it yet. I kind of want to. It looks good. It looks like my kind of movie. I'm going to go into it with this perspective that, like, I think that there's some radicalism behind the scenes with this movie on the right, but it might still be a really entertaining movie. And there's obviously, there is child trafficking and it's terrible. It doesn't have anything to do with people drinking blood for like special like life prolonging chemicals or whatever. But there is child trafficking because this is a dark and shitty world in so many ways. It looks like a good movie, a dark, disturbing, but important movie for many reasons, regardless of whether the artist is crazy. But I mean, plenty of people also didn't want to see The Flash because Ezra Miller's nutty, right? And that's not because again, not everything has to be for everybody. Snow White, that's the other big controversial thing because all these images came out recently. I think that Snow White, Rachel Zegler is a fine Snow White. Everyone's like, well, she's Latina. Well, yeah, but she's super pale. Like, she's a light-skinned Latina. And I mean, why not just set Snow White in like a fictional Spain or Italy, right? If you set like a medieval Spain setting, a lot of very dark-skinned people there, but it's still European. She would definitely be like a Snow White in that context. That could make it work really well. Pictures of the Seven Dwarfs or whatever, that was weird because obviously it does look like that very sort of tokenistic, like we better check off every box. Not because the casting's great, but because we gotta have representation of every single. That's annoying, right? That's again that example of try hard casting, right? But worse to me is just the fact that they're not actually little people. I guess, and I haven't really followed this, but it looks like Disney changed course and went away from the whole Seven Dwarf thing because of actor Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones saying that it was like backwards and not very progressive and whatever. To me, that just sounds like a famous rich person, Dinklage, who has gotten a lot of roles as dwarfs and little people, throwing his fellow little people under the bus and taking roles away from them, which is really shitty because there's not that many roles, for more diminutive actors. So that's unfortunate. And I just think like, if you're going to adapt Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, make them dwarfs and give little people jobs. So that to me is worse than the like tokenistic casting or whatever. Anyways, that's what I was thinking of as I was doing all my Midjourney stuff, generating this AI art, coming up with ideas about this fictional movie, Seven Demons, which, I mean, I would watch it. People might bitch about it for being like woke or something because of the diverse casting. But honestly, the casting is not for diversity's sake. The casting was just because that sounded like a cool actor for this movie. Imagine like that actor and this actor working together. And I was just thinking like of cool actors. So anyways, thank you for watching. Sorry I ramble. I'm sorry if you find me boring when I ramble, but that's what I do. I just talk at the camera and I try to have a conversation with y'all in the comments. So leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and peace.